Hi there guys, I hope you are having a good day. Grab yourself a cup of tea and let's talk some boxing. Now, apparently the WBO have granted an extension for Anthony Joshua and Oleksandr Usyk to make their deal for this mandatory fight. Now, of course, this does point us in the direction that this fight is going to take place. I mean, I know there is talk of other options for Anthony Joshua and they will perhaps be explored if a deal cannot be reached, but at this point, you would wonder why would they give an extension to make an Anthony Joshua versus Usyk deal if there was no chance of that happening. So clearly it will be Oleksandr Usyk versus AJ next and not a Dillian Whyte fight for AJ, not a Luis Ortiz or Ruiz 3. Those were possibilities if they could not reach a deal with Oleksandr Usyk, but I believe that Anthony Joshua will not want to give up a world title without fighting for it in the ring. And that means we will see Usyk next for AJ. Now, of course, he does want a full training camp for specifically Usyk and not any less than that, so 12 weeks, and that will mean the fight can take place around August or September. Now, of course, the reason why they are making this deal is so that they can put certain things in the contract. I mean, Eddie Hearn has said that they will reach an agreement for this fight without going to purse bids. If it does go to purse bids, then they will likely vacate. Now, there could be many reasons for that, but one of them is, given that Eddie Hearn and Matchroom Boxing have now signed a 5-year deal with DAZN, Anthony Joshua is not a part of that. He still has an agreement with Sky Sports confirmed to be one more fight. So if it goes to purse bids, and say it goes to a different broadcaster, that cannot happen because Anthony Joshua is tied into a deal with Sky Sports. So that could be a reason why he is unable to go to purse bids in the first place anyway, because of that fact, because he is signed to Sky Sports and Matchroom, but he has that exclusive broadcaster deal. So that is part of the reason, and of course, there are other things that they will want to put into the contract, like perhaps a rematch clause for if the unthinkable happens for AJ in this fight with Usyk. And there is every possibility that that could happen. This is no gimme fight, this is a tough fight for AJ. Usyk hasn't really shown a lot in the heavyweight division thus far, but he's had necessary fights to get him ready for Anthony Joshua. Just imagine if he hadn't had those two fights and just fought AJ straight away, then he'd be in a more difficult position, but considering he's had 2 fights at heavyweight, that will prepare him better for an AJ fight. I mean, he hasn't faced anyone like AJ in the heavyweight division, but still, he's had a few fights to get him ready for a world title opportunity. Now, when talking about underestimating someone, or perhaps not understanding what is in front of them, I mean, Anthony Joshua is going to want, as I said, a 12-week camp to get him ready for Oleksandr Usyk. If we go over to Tyson Fury versus Deontay Wilder, you can see a different situation. You can see them likely going in July, maybe in August. August 14th was the date they were talking about, but the most likely is 24th of July. So they are moving forwards with that fight very quickly, and the worry is for Tyson Fury is he could be underestimating Deontay Wilder, because Deontay Wilder has been quietly working behind the scenes. I mean, he's come out every now and then and said that Tyson Fury cheated and all of that, but aside from those comments, he's been working away on a game plan and honing his skills to try and beat Tyson Fury. Now that alone, I don't believe is enough to beat Fury, but if Fury underestimates him, then it could be. And when talking about that, we've been in that position before where Undisputed is close. Not as close as AJ and Fury came, but it has been reasonably close, or at least talked about that it could happen next between Wilder and Anthony Joshua, but then Joshua lost to Ruiz. Now, I'm not saying this is the same situation, but you have to wonder, how many opportunities can they have to make an undisputed fight, and then it falls at the wayside and they still keep winning? Because AJ is in a tough fight, Tyson Fury is in a tough fight. Tyson Fury can make it as tough as he wants to. If he prepares the same way as he did last time around, then he will win, but it's not the same set of circumstances, it's not the same situation for Tyson Fury, and that could mean he does take his eye off the ball. So if they're thinking about making Undisputed in December, or maybe January or something like that, if they're thinking about that, Well, they have to make sure they get past their next opponents first. AJ, for him, it's important that he focuses on Usyk. That is the fight. Tyson Fury, Deontay Wilder. That is the fight. If they want any hope of making undisputed later on, then they need to focus 100% on the opponent that's next going to be in front of them, because they can change everything. I mean, AJ's been in that situation before with Ruiz, and in hindsight you would think maybe just scrap the show. Even though they had sold out Madison Square Garden, scrap the show, move on, get 12 weeks in and prepare for a fight maybe back in the UK. But they didn't. They went ahead with it. Now you see Anthony Joshua making moves to make sure he's in the right position against Usyk, getting the right deal, and making sure he has a 12-week camp in preparation for a tricky southpaw. And Tyson Fury has kind of gone the other way. He's already started his camp, and he will likely fight around late July, early August. So with the deal being a little bit drawn out and an extension granted so they can actually make a deal, the reason behind that is to make sure that AJ is in the best position he can possibly be in going into that fight, instead of maybe rushing into it like he did against Andy Ruiz Jr. Anyway, guys, what are your thoughts on this? An extension has been granted, and they will likely reach an agreement with Team Usyk. That will be the next fight for Anthony Joshua. Anyway, guys, drop your thoughts on this in the comments below. Also leave a like and grab that subscribe button. Thanks, guys.